Hi, this is Chris Ott, and I'm back to discuss another concept in Meher Baba's lexicon, his terms that he uses, and that is the Sanskara. And the Sanskara, it's a Hindu term, or Sanskrit term. It's spelled in various ways, but Meher Baba, in his books, it's spelled with an N, Sanskara. Now, my understanding is that in Sanskrit, it literally means what it means in English, which is an impression. But let me explain what is meant by an impression. The word impression can mean different things. But one of the simplest uses, and this is used in philosophy actually, is an analogy from making an impression in wax with a like a king's ring. It makes an impression. He presses it into hot wax, and he removes it, and it leaves an impression. So that is a metaphor for something that happens psychologically, where events happen, and they leave an impression in our mind. And it's closely associated with the term impressed, like I was very impressed by that occurring. My meeting with Sally left a great impression on me, okay? So the word speaks of something that is purely psychogenetic. It has its origin is psychological, and it is a psychological event or thing. It is not a physical thing. And there really isn't any other kind of thing besides a physical thing. And a lot of people have been confused and thought that sanskaras are things. Now, if a sanskara is a thing, I'd like to ask them, well, what's it made of? Is it made out of atoms? What is it made of? Well, they can't say. So it's some kind of magical thing. No, it's not. Now, I'm going to say this is a very important word because Meher Baba has said that all of his teachings come down to this one concept of the Sanskara. I'll put that quote on the screen so you can see that. Before I give examples of Sanskara in action, I'm going to read a couple definitions, and they're very good. One is from Meher Baba's own main book, God Speaks, and this is from the glossary, and it's the definition for Sanskara. Impressions. Impressions which are left on the soul as memories from former lives, and which determine one's desires and actions in the present life. So here's a really good definition of the word from Wikipedia. According to various schools of Indian philosophy, every action, intent, or preparation by an individual leaves a sanskara, an impression, impact, imprint, in the deeper structure of the person's mind. These impressions then await volitional fruition. That means they wait for you to act on them or respond to them because they are in your psyche. In that individual's future, in the form of hidden expectations, circumstances, or a subconscious sense of self-worth, or other things too. It colors how you see things. These sanskaras manifest as tendencies, karmic impulses. We'll talk about karma in a little bit, and how it's related. Subliminal impressions, habitual potencies, and innate dispositions. So how you're disposed to respond to things in the future is affected by experiences that you've had in the past. That makes all perfect psychological sense. This is actually how psychology, at least initially, till it kind of became sort of just purely behavioral, it's the way it looked at things. You know, when a person went for psychoanalysis, the psychologist would look into the person's past to see where these dispositions came from, these tendencies, these deep-seated emotions. They didn't just get there. They have some source. And he always looks back into the past experience, those not always remembered traces, but kind of impressions left on you that you don't even know, you don't even remember. In fact, things that you don't remember often impress your subconscious more than ones that you do. For instance, let's say in your childhood you were abused in some terrible way, and now you have all these strange, neuroses stemming from that, problems and fears and anxieties, and you don't remember what caused them. Well, they can even be worse because you don't remember them. So it's not it's not the same as memories. It's the impression left upon your mind. Those things that happened in the past that we experienced, they colored future experiences. So in the past, if I lived in a place where all the men with beards were mean, and then I see a man with a beard, I'm an adult, I'm suddenly afraid. Now, why am I afraid? Because of those previous impressions I've been impressed upon, and that has colored how I see people in the future. Okay, now the word karma is related to this. Karma in Sanskrit literally means action or work. And so if I have certain impressions in my past that make me really worry about money and really want more money and I can never have enough, well, that's going to make me either work very hard or do things that are shady to get money, or to just, have to possibly drink a lot because of the anxiety over money. So that action is caused by those impressions, and that is the karma, the action. So in a way, I'm destined to act this way, but it's not just sort of cosmic destiny. It's those impressions are what is causing me to have this fate, to act this way. Okay, so, I often will get excited about, purchasing something, and then I purchase it, and then I get anxiety after I purchase it, and then I have to return it, and then I have this huge relief that, I've returned it. Now, all that is due to something that's left an impression in me, and I don't know what it is. Now, in Baba, there's reincarnation, and to understand that this is not the kind of reincarnation in the movies, this is a different sense. See my video, Reincarnation According to Mayor Baba, because that's what I'm referring to. We gather these Sanskaras from life to life. Those Sanskaras are what cause our sense of identity. My sense of being Chris is caused by my impressions from the past. I'm actually not Chris. I'm really one with everybody. I'm part of this one limitless consciousness that's everywhere. That's God. But this little piece of that consciousness, because it's been limited by these impressions that have been gathered over many lives, sees itself as just Chris and limited and identified with this body. Now, that's going to be really important in a minute when I get to that, about the body, the connection between Sanskaras and the body. Now, these impressions, they go back and back and back. They go back not just to earlier lives as a human being, but back into my evolution. And this is a big part, it's a whole third of Baba's teaching, is this evolutionary journey that is made, where these sanskaras are gathered when I was a fish, and when I was a lizard, and when I was a gorilla, I was gathering all these impressions of lust and fear and anger, because the nature is very frightening and threatening, and it leaves and you're forced to survive. You have to do terrible things in nature when you're an animal. And then this, Baba says, when we become human, initially we have this huge legacy of these animal impressions left on our subconscious, you could say, which is what drives us to be animal-like, to a lot of what we call the id, is really these animal impressions that are the legacy of our evolution that we've traversed, that took us millions of years to get where we are. And I'm talking about my soul, not my body, obviously. Now, there's something very important, and it's really important and relevant today, and that's the relation between these sanskaras and my body that I have, and the body that you have, and the body even that an animal has. Each time, throughout a life of an animal or a person, that soul gathers impressions. And when it dies, it still has those impressions left in its subconscious. And it has to sort of work out those, sort of do actions that sort of resolve that. You know how sometimes you have to have closure? Like, let's say I killed somebody, and this left a terribly dark impression on my mind, terrible guilt and shame, but it's all subconsciously repressed. In order to deal with that, I have to come back and, through my actions, get myself into a situation where I suffer in some kind of like way, so I can resolve that. And and that gets rid of those sanskaras, but the thing is, you just created new sanskaras. Because every action, even the actions that happen for subconscious reasons to work out past sanskaras, create new sanskaras. Now, so when I die, there are still the impressions. And although I don't identify with this body anymore because it's failed and I disidentify from it, I still identify with those sanskaras in what you could call afterlife. But it's not a place, it's just a psychic thing. Remember I said that in Baba's teaching, there really aren't things. I mean, things are the outcome of these underlying processes. They're not the causes of them, okay? So fundamentally, everything is psychogenic. All right, psychic. It all has to do with consciousness. It doesn't have to. Baba once said, if there's an evolution, it's an evolution of consciousness. No, it's always good to remember, well, I'll put the quote on the screen, that evolution is an evolution of consciousness. And he said, in the end, if there be an end, will be an end in consciousness. So everything is about consciousness. That's how this is different from physics and physical theories. Although those physical theories, many of them are true, they're not what's fundamentally happening, because the world is really an illusion caused by these underlying impressions. Now, I die, and I have the legacy of that life that I just lived. And I'm going to be taking another life so that I can work off those impressions. This is what is the process of reincarnation. And it can take millions of lives, if necessary, to get to the goal, the end. This is all described in Meher Baba's book, God Speaks, The Theme and Purpose of Creation. Okay, if anybody wants to read that. It's a difficult book. But these impressions that are there, and I can't really describe how this occurs, they form the mold for my next body. They're kind of like a matrix. They form the mold for my next form. So my next form is sort of the physicalization of those impressions that were left from my previous life. That's what forms that fetus. That is with all those genes and everything, and what's going to happen. Also, those impressions are going to give it the karma that it's going to have in this life. But this means that your body is created by the mold of the previous impressions. And that includes what they nowadays call your gender, meaning you're male or female. If you have a preponderance of male sanskaras left over from your last life that need to be worked out, then you will have a male body. The male body is just the result of the mold of the impressions of the previous lifetime. And if I have a preponderance of female impressions that need to be worked out, they're called upon being worked out, I will be born with a female body. Therefore, the modern, very, very contemporary idea that you could be in the wrong body, Baba says that is a delusion. A man can't be in a woman's body and a woman in a man's body, because whether you're male or female is the result of your impressions that you've come in to live. Now, Baba says if a man, instead of working on the male impressions, which was what gave him his male body, if he chooses to work on female impressions instead, because of some social decision, he's causing himself to really screw up his impressions, and it retards his development spiritually, and vice versa. So when a man finds himself as a man, even if he's not attracted to women, he has to sort of take up his role as a man in some form and accept at least his body that he is a man, even if he is a gay man, and not go to get surgeries thinking that something went wrong. The body that you have is exactly the right body for you. It is tailored by your impressions and not by social constructs like people have been told. Okay. It's very important that people understand that sanskaras are not things, little objects, like germs, okay? That has been a common misunderstanding just because we were raised to think like that. Remember, we were told that, atoms are the building blocks of life. So we kind of pictured everything being made out of building blocks, But that's not what Baba's talking about. This is psychogenic. Let me read a couple quotes that show this, at least in Baba's teaching. These are not things. This is from Discourses by Meher Baba. I think it's one, there are several editions, but this is page 27 of the one that I used. The purely psychological compulsion of the sanskaras is thus subject to the deeper need of the soul to know itself. So I've said in the past, the whole thrust of life, the impetus that pushes us from life to the goal, is this desire for the soul to know itself. And these impressions get made along the way in this sort of dream journey that never quite happens because God has nowhere to go. He can't really take a journey because he's everything, and space and time are really just illusions. So, but that word I was going to point, and I'll put it on the screen again, the purely psychological compulsion of the sanskaras. They're not little objects. Little objects don't have psychological compulsions. From another quote, this is Discourses, Volume 1, 6th edition, 5th printing. I got this precise. From the psychogenetic point of view, and psychogenetic means having a psychological rather than a physical origin. From the psychogenetic point of view, human actions are based upon the operation of the impressions stored in the mind through previous experience. Every thought, emotion, and act is grounded in groups of impressions which, when considered objectively, are seen to be modifications of the mind stuff of man. These are not, we don't count how many sanskaras are on the head of a pin. That's the Middle Ages, and we're here. They didn't even have psychology then. They could not have even understood this idea because we're kind of ready for this. All right. I think I said it. Baba's teaching is entirely a subjective, from God's point of view, experience of an illusion. There are no parts. There is only a single cause, and that is the original whim, which is described in God Speaks, which he calls the cause. And what we see as creation, which is really illusion, is its effect, or what he calls in God Speaks the effect. There's one cause, there's one effect. Both are psychological, and both are subjective. There's really no objective anything here. It's all the effect of. Now, see my my video called "The Point," where I talk about this. It's very tough to cover that concept. People don't really even know what the word. Often don't know what the word subjective means. The word, they think it means just not objective, so it's just your opinion. But actually subjective means from your point of view, from here. And the whole universe is from God's point of view. And what Baba calls the creation point is not a point in space, it's out there somewhere. It's the point from which it is perceived. And every one of us perceives from that one point. And that's, in all my books, I try to make that really, really clear. Baba lovers have struggled with it, so apparently his books, although it's there, have confused them, and I'm not always sure why that is. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next installment. Take care.